few seconds here. What is going on, guys? It is Bearded Wonder. Forgive me, I'm a little bit sick today, a little bit stuffy, so if I start coughing or something, I apologize. Today I'm going to be bringing you my Ice King or Irish Santa build for Zane. I've been wanting to work out how to include Comical Collected for a very long time, and I think this is the best way to do it. So we're just going to go through the skills real quick. We're going to put 5 out of 5 into Ready for Action, get that shield recharge rate and delay, 3 out of 3 into Hardy Stock, so we get more shield, and 4 out of 5 into Adrenaline, so we get more action skill cooldown. Now, you could put the 4 out of 5 into the Rise to the Occasion, but I do like having just insane action skill cooldown. Just being able to throw the shield out. You get the increased duration. It's going to go down, but you're going to see how fast it's going to come back. And the reason why we're going to be going for that cooldown is because, just in case we don't proc our skills, 5 seconds comes back. And that's going to be included with Brain Freeze, of course, so we get more freezing. Confident Competence, an extra 35% gun damage. Really expensive jacket, and your Futility Belt I decided to go into just because the effect duration is going to be minus 50%, and we get an extra 15% damage reduction, so that's always going to be good. And of course, our core in this tree is Calm, Cool, and Collected. So what this skill is really, really good for is I think it is a little bit better than this one, Good Misfortune, but the only reason why I wanted to try it, but the only reason why it's bad is because it requires a lot of different things. It requires you to have full health, it requires you to have full shield, but if you do have those, it does reset your action skills, which is better than what Good Misfortune does, which is what it just returns the duration. We're going to go into this tree now. So this is going to be the, you don't have to go all the way down to Seeing Red. You could make some sacrifices, and so you can get into Donnybrook over here. But the main reason why I wanted to go into Seeing Red is so we can get those kill skills active a little bit easier. So we're going to go 5 out of 5 into Violent Speed, 5 out of 5 into Violent Momentum, 1 into Salvation, 1 into Drone Delivery, and 2 into Cool Hand. You don't really need a lot of reload speed. You're going to reload pretty fast. Both skills out. Fire pretty fast. And reload pretty fast. And we're going to have a pretty decent sized clip with the equipment we're using. We're of course going to go into Death Follows Close. We're going to put 4 into Violent Violence and 4 into Playing Dirty. So you could put an extra point into Playing Dirty so you can get that 105 shot chance, but I think you only need the 90, especially if you're using such a fast firing rate gun. 10% chance not to shoot an extra one is fine by me. 2 out of 3 into Good Misfortune, and then 1 into Seeing Red, just so we get those kill skills activated as soon as we activate those augments. And then this last tree, you could do a couple different things. We could put 2 into Synchronicity and 2 into Borrowed Time, or you could put 3 into Synchronicity, 1 into Borrowed Time. You could put 1 into Synchronicity, or 3 into Borrowed Time. The reason why I like Borrowed Time is because of the way it works with Good Misfortune. So you're going to get a duration return for the max duration rather than the allotted duration. So it's going to increase the duration for every skill active. So 1 skill active is going to get 12%, 2 skill actives is going to get 24%, so we're going to get an extra 24%. We're going to wait for our action skills to cool down here. I'll go into the rest of the stuff, the gear. So we are going to be using our main weapon. It's going to be the Redistributor and the Kipsworth with Cryo. Both are going to have Sentinel Cryo on it, so we freeze. The Transformer we're going to be using is going to have Sentinel Movement Speed, of course. We're going to be using a Seeing Dead with Weapon Damage, SMG Damage, and Magazine Size. We are going to be using an Icebreaker Auto-Idle with Assault Rifle Damage, Shield Recharge Rate, and Magazine Size, and a Recurring Hex with On Grenade Throw. You could change these to a lot of different things. We could use the Dastardly Maggie, that has pretty good cryo damage. You could use any of the redistributors because most of them will freeze, but I'm going to use the cryo one just so we have that 100% freeze chance. You could also use the Carrier. The Carrier is a great weapon for this build. The Lob, surprisingly enough, is also going to be really good. We can use the Cryo Lob. Actually, let's switch that in here just for the Cutsman for now. Or not. Did it work? Yeah, it did. Okay. So, wait for these skills to come back. So all in all, this build is just going to be all about the freeze. We want to make sure that we are getting as much damage with the freeze as possible as well. That is why we went with the Icebreaker class mod. And ready? Without further ado.
Intel says there's an elevator down to the lower levels. Make your way there and be ready for some heavy resistance. I'm counting on you, Vault Hunter. I'll kill ya! Take that, you ganky knob!
Stupid things. Now, because we have good misfortune and the Congo collected on, we're going to get our action skills back quite a bit. Gibbsworth is going to be another great one for this build. It's going to finish because of such a high cryo efficiency. Lob does work. We're just going to be switching back and forth between those weapons, trying to get as much cryo damage as possible. And you notice when we do freeze something, we're just going to absolutely melt it. Try the lob out. Never does any damage to this thing. There we go.
I'm on fire! But not literally.
Another reason why I like the cryo stuff better is just because it's going to instantly refresh all our action skills rather than having to shoot things. You just have to freeze them, so you can take out that lob real quick. Our action skills just lasting forever. This redistributor is just going to be so good for taking out groups of enemies. We're actually going to use the lob to take out the bosses, I think. Oh, we have to catch one as well. Doesn't do damage all the time when it makes people stop. There we go. It does do damage. It does damage. just need to be in the general area of those balls, and it does so much. Nice.
Those were advanced mechs, but we're after something bigger. Keep going.
How much charge did that have, actually? I think I am going to tweak this a little bit, though. I don't think we really... The seeing red is good, and I think I might take out some points from Violent Violence to get a little bit less of a fire rate and put it into Cool Hand. Just crazy how fast you can freeze an enemy. This is on true takedown mode, by the way. enters the battlefield with balls. Right. See, and that's the only problem with these balls. Sometimes they lag.
That wasn't so hard now, was it?
Switch to the rad lab. Okay, so I guess I'll have the rad lab on. We could use the radiation redistributor, but I really just wanted to use a lot of cryo for this, just to maximize it. Especially since you're freezing. Look how fast you're freezing. Most shields. Especially if you're hitting the crits. And of course you're still going to use the Cutsmans, because Cutsmans are too good not to use. Just gonna wait for my action skills to finish up here.
Light the giant beast startup.
Nope, do not have radiation on that. Freeze these guys. Shit skills. Oh my god, Wotan, stop jumping around, bro. And there's the takedown.
Brilliant work, Vault Hunter. That ass kicking will make Maliwan think twice before they come at us again.
Alright, let's look at this loot.
Better leave before you get hurt.
That's it. That wasn't much. Alright. So yeah, that's the Cryo King, or Ice King cometh. I don't even know what I'm going to call it. I think I called it Irish Santa Zane build. So we're just going to go through the skills again. I'm actually going to tweak it just a little bit. By the way, look, a Wotan head. Isn't it cool? There's a few other interactable decorations, but that one's one of the few that is. So now we're going to go some in-depth analysis of all the skills and everything like that. Since you've made it this far. So, as I said before, this is my Ice King cometh. I think that's what I originally named it back in Mayhem 3, but I wanted to try it again with these new weapons and everything like that in Mayhem 4. So I think I'm going to call this the Irish Santa build. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to work on freezing everything. As you saw before, between the redistributor, the Cribsworth, and the lobs, whichever one you want to use. I'm probably going to wind up sticking the radiation lob on to deal with the shields and the cryo-resistant enemies. But basically the whole build is going to revolve around that. You don't have to use the Transformer. You could use Rico's. You could use any shield that's going to have the 15% movement speed for Sentinel active. You don't really need the Transformer. Transformer is just my favorite shield. I think it's probably one of the best ones out there right now. You know, 100% shock immunity, 40% chance to absorb bullets. You know, pretty decent capacity. We get it up to about 21k. And then you could also use you don't have to use the recurring hex. I also have an It's Piss that I switch to from now on again, but I just like the recurring hex for this build specifically just because it's going to do the cryo damage. And apparently it says it has 1167 cryo efficiency, which is either a typo or that is incredibly high. I never saw that before. And then of course we're going to use our icebreaker. Ideally you want an icebreaker auto idle, no, icebreaker victory rush. But the auto idle is going to allow us to go into 1 point into salvation instead of 3, which is pretty nice, as well as, you know, getting that extra magazine size. Unfortunately, this one has assault rifle damage, but that is good for if you want to use the carrier, slap that on there. That's also pretty good for this build since you're going to get the 100% cryo damage and the crits are going to freeze as well. But I just prefer using the icebreaker auto idle just because, like I said, I have a couple. I have one other ones. This one's going to give SMG. Ooh, this one's actually better. I'm gonna try that one out. I didn't even know I had that one. Again, but you don't the main guns that you want. You don't need the redistributor with the Sentinel. You could just have a cryo redistributor. Any cryo weapons are really going to work well with this. Some other ones that are probably going to be good could be
Not that bad.
Lucian's Calls. You could use Nighthawkins. Like I said, the Maggie before is really good, but the Nighthawken is going to be a great addition to this. Bunch of different Kibsworths that you can use. Ion lasers are also pretty good because they're going to have a pretty high cryo efficiency. If it switches to it. It's not going to switch. Do I have to inspect it? Yeah, 305% cryo efficiency. So basically what you're trying to do is trying to get these guns with high cryo efficiency. You could use Crater with the Sentinel anointment. Could use some Xyzes Eruptions because it has a cryo efficiency. Anything that's going to have a high cryo efficiency. I have a Shockwave with cryo efficiency on it. It's going to have how much? A lot of these Mali 1 weapons are going to have the high cryo efficiency, so that's what you're pretty much going to want to go for. 126% is pretty good, but you're also going to get that 100% while Sentinel is active, so it's going to be a lot more. So each bullet's going to have I think a 200. I think it's multiplicative, so it's going to probably be 200% for each hit. That's why we're freezing everything so quickly. All right, let's build it real quick. So we're going to go 5 into ready for action, 5 into ready freeze, and then 1 into competent competence. Now these 4 skills to get to the next level are going to be a little weird, so we can either put them, I'm going to put 3 into Hardy Stack, and you could either put 1 into Rise to the Occasion, or Adrenaline, or even Stiff Upper Lip. I prefer to put it in Adrenaline just so those action skills are going to come down quicker. And this skill, Best Serve Cold, is terrible. I don't recommend anybody ever going into the skill. The way it works with Seeing Dead is when you proc your kill skills, it's going to proc a Cryo Nova around you. At max rank, let me do on my skill tree real quick in the app, and I'll tell you at max rank what it is, because it's definitely not worth it. Yeah, at max rank, it does like no damage. It's not worth it to go into, and it's only going to be around you, and every once in a while it's going to be around an enemy, and the Cryo Nova is not gonna do enough. And because of how fast we're going to be moving, and we have the shield around us already, we don't really need the protection. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go into 1 over here to get a futility belt, and 1 into a really expensive jacket, and then put the rest of the points right into adrenaline. So this way we can get to calm, cool, and collected. You could put 3 points into refreshment instead of putting it into salvation, but salvation is just a better skill because it's going to be all damage done by him, rather than just to frozen enemies. Yep. Okay. And then for this, so you don't need a lot into violent violence. What you do need is a lot into playing dirty. Like I said, you only need 4 into there because we don't want to max it out. You don't have to max it out, but we want to put these skills elsewhere. We're going to put 1 into violent violence for now, 2 into good misfortune. And now here comes the predicament. So this you could leave it like this. You could put probably one more point into violent violence if you want. So this way you can get the 5 points into synchronicity, or 5 points here, 3 points here, 2 points there, and then put the rest into Donnybrook. But I have fell in love with Seeing Red, and we're gonna get the Donnybrook damage anyways from the class mod. I just think it's better to go into Seeing Red, so I'm gonna put 1 into Cool Hand, 2 into Violent Violence, and then 1 into Seeing Red. Now we have 4 skills left, and I am going to put, just spread out like that, 2 and 2. Of course, when they give us more skill points, we'll be able to, expand on this a little bit more, probably getting to Donnybrook, getting more points into Synchronicity and to Borrowed Time, but I think this is a pretty decent build so far. Then we're going to put the clone, or the drone, on slot 1, and the dome in slot 2. Get pretty high magazine size. And with this, like I said, these are the guns. You always should use a Cutsman. Cutsman is just too good not to use right now. It's such a powerful weapon, especially against Wotan, as you saw. The redistributor is going to be for your mobs. Gibbs Worth is going to be for anything that is cryo-immune, because it's going to have the radiation element. And the lob is also going to be for anything that's cryo-immune. You could, like I said before, switch to the cryo lob and freeze everything, especially because the cryo lob is going to do a little bit more damage, at least mine is. So it's up to you. But yeah, this is my Ice King Come at the Same build. Hope you enjoyed.